One of America's finest and most literate bands has released an album that further shores up the argument that 2024 has so far been a truly exceptional year for us music fans. Hi everyone, I'm Paul Crayson, and you're watching Music Mentions. Today I'm doing a deep dive review of the Decemberists' latest album called As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again. This is a lengthy exploration of what is effectively a double album, the longest ever by this band. So sit back and relax as I dig into the band, the release notes, track listing and song lengths, the album title and cover, some general album observations, the individual songs, and end with a wrap-up and overall rating. I do it this way because I still believe there are thoughtful people out there that seek more value from an album review than a 30-second TikTok hot take by a reviewer that probably didn't have the patience to critically listen to the album a single time all the way through. So who are the Decemberists? This five-piece band formed in 2000 in Portland, Oregon. Their name comes from what is called the Decemberist Revolt in 1825 in Imperial Russia. It is also meant to give a sense of drama and melancholy that the month of December tends to conjure up. Their debut album, titled Castaways and Cutouts, was released in 2002 to critical acclaim, and the band's career was on the way. They went on to release several other notable albums, with my favorites being Picaresque in 2005, The Crane Wife in 2006, and The King is Dead in 2011. However, for my money, they've yet to release anything that was less than solid, although their last album, called I'll Be Your Girl from 2018, is generally thought of as a bit disappointing relative to the strength of their earlier work. Their sound has been described as indie rock, and even prog folk. They use a lot of acoustic instruments, but are able to rock out on occasion as well. They have a very distinctive melodic folk sound that it stands out, especially when compared to today's modern, boring, and lightweight musical trends. Also, songwriting that's focused on sophisticated storytelling is certainly one of the core strengths of the Decemberists. There's even a dry sense of humor that can be found buried in a lot of the band's material. Their exceptional live performances have also managed to garner a very loyal fan base over the years. Now let's take a look at the individual band members. First we have Colin Meloy. He's 49 years old and is the leader of the band and all-around great human being, if you ask me. He's the chief songwriter, lead vocalist, rhythm guitarist, and also plays the harmonica. Morrissey has been a major influence on him. Additionally, Colin has some side gigs, including being an author, having written several children's books, and he is currently working on his first adult novel that supposedly is coming out in 2025. Next, we have Chris Funk. He's 52 years old and is a multi-instrumentalist. He plays lead guitar, pedal steel, mandolin, banjo, and saxophone. Next we have Nate Query. He's 50 years old and is the band's bassist, both electric and stand-up acoustic bass. He also occasionally tackles the cello. Next we have Jenny Conley. She is 52 years old and plays anything with a keyboard, including the piano, organ, and the accordion. Next up, we have John Moen. He's 55 years old and is the band's drummer. Before joining the band in 2005, he had played drums for approximately 20 other bands, including Elliott Smith and Stephen Malkmus and the Jicks. Note that Chris, Nate, Jenny, and John all contribute background vocals on this album. Now for some release notes. This album was released on June 14th of 2024, and it is the Decemberists' 9th full album of original studio material. It was released on the Decemberists' own YAB Records, which stands for Youth and Beauty Brigade, named after a song on their debut album. It was produced by the band and Tucker Martine, who has worked on several past albums with the band. The album was also mixed by Martine. By the way, in 2010, Paste Magazine included Martine in their list of the 10 best producers of the decade. Mastering was done by Emily Lazar. There were 4 singles that were released prior to the album release. Now for the track listing and song lengths. There are 13 songs on this album. All I Want Is You is the shortest song at 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and Joan in the Garden is the longest at a whopping 19 minutes and 20 seconds. The total album length is 67 minutes and 39 seconds, effectively making this a double album. Now let's talk about the album title and the cover. The album title is As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again, and this is a line from the song Joan in the Garden. This phrase suggests that the Decemberists are very comfortable in their historical musical lane with this release and are communicating to us not to expect any left turns or major surprises. There is also a concept of eternal return in philosophy associated with thinkers like Nietzsche that suggests that the universe and all existence recurs infinitely. This title is right in alignment with this philosophy. The font used for the title and the band's name is in an ornate cursive style, as if there's a sense of formality or ornateness to the album's content. It's the kind of font you would see on an invitation to a formal gathering, such as a wedding or gala or a black tie event. The album cover was created by Carson Ellis. Carson is married to Colin Malloy, whom she met in college and has been the band's illustrator throughout their career. She also is the illustrator of the children's books written by Colin. The illustration style here feels very familiar, and it features several different animals with a few humans in the background, all set in an outdoor forest setting. The animals are all looking straight at us while the humans do not. We have an owl, some type of cat, an antelope, a leopard, a lion, a lamb, and what looks like a wolf in the back. This is an odd mixture as the predators are hanging out comfortably with the prey. There's a popular phrase of biblical origin that is often quoted as, "The lion shall lay down with the lamb," which is seen here. The phrase evokes a utopian ideal where violence and predation are replaced by universal peace. The inspiration for the illustration appears to be Edward Hicks' famous painting, The Peaceable Kingdom, from around 1833 or 1834. Hicks was a Quaker and therefore believed in peaceful living. The cover art, overall, I think, is appropriate and fits in comfortably with the Decemberists style. Now for some general album observations. This album's sound is what you'd expect from the band and not a real departure from their past work. Lots of acoustic and folk elements. However, I found the recording to be just okay. It's not what I would describe as an audiophile recording. Although the overall instrument balance is fine, it sounds like the whole album is shaded dark or slightly veiled in its sonic presentation. Don't get me wrong, it's certainly a listenable album from a sound fidelity perspective, but I do think they could have done a little better in this area. Let me know what you guys think. For reference, I used the high-res audio files from the streaming platform Qobuz for my listening sessions. Now let's comb through the individual songs, the first one being Burial Ground. This bouncy kickoff track was the first single, and it features the special guest Jason Mercer from the Shins on background vocals. Guitar arpeggios are the star of the day here, as well as the impossibly catchy melodies. Colin's vocals are better than ever as he confidently leads us in the most sing-along song on the album. There are also some great horns incorporated, particularly during the instrumental break. The Decemberists had assistance on much of the album from arranger and multi-instrumentalist Kelly Pratt on horns, and on this tune, he plays the trumpet and the flugelhorn. If this tune sounds familiar, it's because it's obviously inspired by the Beach Boys' classic Sloop John B. cover on Pet Sounds. Here are the lyrics from the chorus. "O Len, come down and meet at the burial ground. They've undid the aerial, torn down the merry-go-round. This world's all wrong, so let's go where we belong. Pack up the stereo, meet at the burial ground." Colin's lyrics are often dark or having to deal with death in some way, but he also manages to throw in a little humor here and there. Since Colin is a big fan of Morrissey, it's probably not a stretch to say that the Smiths song Cemetery Gates may have been a lyrical influence on this one. We aren't told who Len is in this tune, but the song is about having him meet Colin to hang out in a cemetery, and it appears they need to do so with a stereo by their side. A fantastic start to the album. Burial Ground will have you tapping your toe and singing along with it just after a few listens. Musically uplifting and lyrically dark, it's an instant Decemberist classic. My only complaint is that James Mercer's background vocals are buried too far in the mix, when they really should have been made a little bit more forward and audible. Song number 2 is called "Oh No." This was the 4th single. It's another horn-heavy track, and it's got a New Orleans jazziness flavor to it, especially during the instrumental outro. Similar to Burial Ground, there's a bounciness to it with its syncopated drums and powerful bass and punchy horns, making you want to grab someone to dance along with its swinging beat. The melodies are strong again, as is Colin's vocal performance. Here are the lyrics from the first verse. "It was on a wedding night, how they danced by the firelight, and the bride was well arrayed by her 15 chambermaids. As her father raised a toast to the health of all the hosts, we descended from the apse to bear witness to the old collapse." We have another story song with "Oh No," and it seems that this is about a lavish and expensive wedding that is the target of an attack by what looks to be union workers. By referencing chambermaids, Colin may be setting the story in the Victorian era during the last half of the 1800s. Again, we have a dark theme that rides on uplifting and happy major key melodies. The contrast is wonderful. I love this tune. It features the wonderful playing and lyrical sophistication that the Decemberists are known for, not to mention killer melodies. Song number 3 is "The Reapers." The musical mood changes with this darker sounding and almost lilting type of a tune. The track's insistent and steady rhythm section seem to be driving here, but the featured instrument is a flute played by Jesse Chandler, another guest musician. Maybe it's just me, but when I hear a flute featured this way, I instantly think of that great old band Traffic. There are only verses employed in The Reapers, so it doesn't have the melodic dynamics of the first two tunes. Let's look at the 4th verse lyrics. "I heard of a mansion on top of a hill, where a lordling lives splendid, just eating his fill. Dressed in white linen, his servants in tow, till he waits for the reapers to mow. Till he waits for the reapers to mow." On its surface, this is a song about peasants farming the land and having to wait for reapers to complete the harvesting. However, it's also an allegory, as the connotation of reapers as harvesters of souls is what Colin is really getting at with the lyrics. The song is basically saying that whether rich or poor, we all eventually succumb to death. So yes, this is another Decemberist song dealing with death. This is a great mood piece of a song that almost plays like a dirge, and Colin's wordplay is in top form, as expected. Another solid track. Song number 4 is called "Long White Veil." The energy and melodicism pick up with this really catchy mid-tempo tune. Here we get some steel guitar as a featured instrument. The guitar slides are perfectly incorporated, accentuating Colin's vocal delivery in a really lovely way. The rhythm section sounds great as well, especially the bass lines. Let's look at some lyrics from the first chorus. I married her, I carried her, on the very same day I buried her. In the cemetery plot by her mother, though she never gave a thought to her mother, but she looked so pale in that long white veil. Yep, another lyrically dark track as Colin sings about a man who is beset by recurring dreams of his bride who sadly died on the same day they got married. The long white veil he's referring to can be interpreted as both a wedding veil and a funeral shroud. Inspiration for this tune no doubt came from the classic song Long Black Veil, a famous country ballad originally recorded by Lefty Frizzell in 1959 and covered by many artists, including Johnny Cash and the band. Long Black Veil is a song that tells the story from the perspective of a man falsely accused of murder and executed. He refuses to provide an alibi because he was having an affair with his best friend's wife on the night of the murder. This is one of the catchiest songs on As It Ever Was and should have been a single for sure. One of my absolute favorites. Song number 5 is called William Fitz William. Here we slow things down with what comes off as a slightly countrified folk song. It sounds like the rhythm section is not used at all. Chris Funk is back with a wonderful sounding steel guitar as Colin sings and strums his acoustic, and Jenny plays carefully placed accordion notes. She also contributes some light background vocals as she doubles Colin's vocal lines. Colin's voice really cuts through with only the relatively spare instrumentation of the track to accompany him. Here are the lyrics from the first verse. William Fitzwilliam went walking in April by the Greenbrier roses on the banks of the Thames, when over his kerchief there came such a clamor that William Fitzwilliam took shelter within. Another historical song, this was supposedly inspired by a 2020 novel titled The Mirror and the Light about Thomas Cromwell, a minister in the court of King Henry VIII during the mid-1500s. Of course, there's a darkness to be found in the lyrics as there are warnings about losing heads and ghosts of aristocrats. A great change of pace on the album. There's a sense that this song has existed for a long time. It has that timeless feel to it. It also has some of Colin's best vocals up to this point. Song number 6 is Don't Go to the Woods. Right away, we get another somber and ominous folk-sounding track. No obvious drums on this one either, and the bass is very low-key. Lots of steady arpeggiated guitar lines are front and center as the song kind of floats along with some help from Jenny on what sounds like a piano. Here are the chorus lyrics. Darling, stay right close to me. Do just as you should. For if you go in their company, oh, then you're gone for good. Don't go to the woods tonight. Don't go to the woods. See how they shine in their KC lights. Don't go to the woods. I would call this a warning song, as it appears that a mother or father is imploring their daughter to not join a group of hell-raising boys who are gathered in the woods with their trucks or jeeps, obviously up to no good. The mention of KC lights is one of those small, brilliant details that Colin includes that paints a very vivid picture. KC lights are lights that are added to off-road vehicles for better visibility in off-road conditions. The dark mood set by the music seems to imply that the daughter is going to disregard the parents' warning. Like the Reapers, this tune is very moody and it creates a beautifully ominous atmosphere. Colin's vocals are a highlight, and the melody, especially during the chorus, is very memorable. Good stuff. Song number 7 is The Black Mariah. This is another subdued minor key song where it sounds like the rhythm section is still on hiatus. Acoustically driven, the one musical element that really seeps out is a French horn played by Kelly Pratt. This texture makes the song sound like a funeral dirge, which, given its lyrical content, is wholly appropriate. Let's check out the lyrics from the first chorus. The Black Mariah comes for us all. Can't you hear their boots in the hall? Answer your name when they call. The Black Mariah, the Black Mariah. A Black Mariah is an old term for a police wagon or paddy wagon used to transport prisoners. It's unclear exactly as to why the Black Mariah is coming for everyone in the song, but the mention of boots in the hall and later lining up prisoners against a wall implies this may be about putting down a revolt or mass uprising of some kind. Moodiness, again, is a good way to describe this track, but there's also a solid melody all the way through, resulting in another song on As It Ever Was that is great. Song number 8 is All I Want Is You. This was the third single, and this is the shortest song at just a little over 2.5 minutes. Keeping up with the emphasis on more folky and acoustic arrangements, All I Want Is You is the fourth song in a row with little to no bass or drums. The guitar is lightly finger-picked before it's joined in by that French horn again. Light background vocals, again double Collins vocal lines, fleshing them out a little bit. Collins' voice is very intimate, it's dry, and very close to the microphone. Here are lyrics from the second verse. Don't want run-on phrases, your dull and moneyed phases, drinks and downers with out-of-towners, drag me to your altar when my footing falters. All I want is you. This is a simple love song with a simple but very beautiful melody as Collins sings longingly for his love interest. He is fixated, if not obsessed, with this person. All I Want Is You is the kind of light and pretty tune that keeps getting better with every listen. Song number 9 is Born to the Morning. The energy picks up again as the rhythm section decides to rejoin the band for this rocker. The first thing you'll probably notice are these squealy sounding synth sounds poking into the tune. The next thing you'll notice is that Collins' voice has some processing to it that we haven't heard up to this point yet. There's a fairly jumpy piano playing in the background while a steady note played on the bass hits a really low end of the frequency range, almost sub-bass territory. Here are the lyrics from the first verse. Take your own bent shackle from the table. Take your own and idle by. We are born to buckle from the cradle. We are born to the morning when we rise. These lyrics are more opaque than we've encountered up to this point. The theme appears to be centered around the cyclical nature of daily living and struggle, how every new day we are born into more challenges. Born to the Morning is the most experimental sounding song on As It Ever Was. I've found it to be a bit melodically lazy and repetitive, frankly. For me, this is the first track I'd classify as a skipper. It just doesn't do anything for me. Song number 10 is America Made Me. Things turn musically upbeat with this major key, bouncy, and almost anthemic number. Kelly Pratt is back contributing horns, including a tuba, and along with the bass, drums, and piano, the track has an almost jolly or happy vibe to it. The tune chugs right along before a breakdown, but then the last 2 minutes ramps up into a horn-heavy crescendo as Collins' vocals are slowly dialed down in the mix until they disappear. Here are the first chorus lyrics. America made me, America saved me from myself, and all these wishers well. America parade me, I dare you to lull me to my knees and give me something sweet, maybe something that will get me back to sleep. The lyrical theme here is Collins' conflicted relationship with being an American. He told NPR the following: "It definitely speaks to my experience of wrestling with my own Americanness and what it means to be an American and my discomfort with that. but also wrapped up in, identity and pride as well, this being my home. I think it can sound sort of anthemic. In some ways, it sounds like kind of a patriotic anthem if you listen to it without following the lyrics. But you dig a little deeper, and it's clearly about somebody's worry about not belonging and this kind of weird discomfort with oneself. America Made Me reminded me a lot of 16 Military Wives from the Picaresque album with its general feel and those horns. It's not my favorite on As It Ever Was, but it's memorable and musically fun. Song number 11 is Tell Me What's on Your Mind. If there's a song on the album that can be classified as a groover, it's this one. Mainly, it's due to the cool bass line and this mid-tempo feel, especially during those verses. There's a short instrumental break that even has a light Santana vibe to it. Some short guitar chord stabs with a chorus effect are also noticeable as they hit like punctuation marks between Colin's vocal phrases. Very cool. Let's look at the lyrics from the third and fourth verses. Wait, I don't like to see you this way. So many clouds in the way. What can I do to convey my mind? If only I could stop time, anchor away and unwind, knowing we'll never align our minds. My interpretation of the theme here is that Colin is singing about the political division we've all been going through. It appears a friend he hasn't seen in a long time has drifted to the other side, and he's attempting to communicate with this person and reestablish the relationship, even while conceding neither of them will change their minds. This song runs just about 4 minutes long, and it's too short for me. I really dig this tune with its 70s feel and groove. It may come off as kind of a throwaway track to some people, but for me, it's one of the album's highlights. Song number 12 is Never Satisfied. This softer and kind of floaty tune builds slowly. The spare instrumentation sounds great, and Colin delivers a beautiful vocal melody during the choruses, which to me sound a little like an old Elton John song. If you happen to know where Colin copped this melody from, let me know in the comments. I would love to know, because I couldn't figure it out. Here are the lyrics from the first chorus. Settle down and watch the sun rise. Rattle round and watch the day die. No more words for once. And laid to bed, we're all just getting by. But you're never satisfied. This tune's lyrics are seemingly about being restless and unsatisfied, even when we're wasting our time not doing anything of note. Waking up and the sunrise are themes, and the musical atmosphere certainly makes this likewise feel like a morning song. A beautiful tune, Never Satisfied, is another highlight on an album that's simply full of them. And we come to the last song called Joan in the Garden. This was the second single. REM's Mike Mills is a special guest on this track, although I'm not sure what his contributions are, since he's not credited on the official credits. This is the Decemberists getting into a folk prog mode with their longest song ever. There are several sections to it. It starts with a Beach Boys-like harmony, then a circular guitar pattern that is a direct nod to Big Star's classic tune 13. There's a lot of atmosphere throughout, especially a 6.5-minute, almost ambient instrumental section that starts halfway in. Then just before the 16-minute mark, the song morphs into a galloping rhythm as Colin starts singing again. The high energy then remains until the end. Here are the first verse lyrics. In a book I found, Joan in the Garden, I will write this down. I will lay her heart in mine for a time, write a line, erase a line. Colin had this to say about this epic song. Joan in the Garden has been kicking around as an idea since the I'll Be Your Girl sessions. I got into a Joan of Arc kick after reading Lydia Yuknovich's beautifully batshit novel, The Book of Joan. I wanted to make my own version of Joan, but the song that came was as much about the creative process as it was about the actual woman, about angelic visitation and creative visitation and the hallucinogenic quality of both. This song is a journey. It's long, it's experimental, and at times thrilling, especially the last few minutes. Is it self-indulgent? Most definitely. Personally, I would have liked a shorter ambient section. Otherwise, this is a fantastic finish to the album. So what do I think overall about this latest album from the Decemberists? Well, I forgot how much I missed this band after 6 years since their last release. As It Ever Was is easily their best release since The King Is Dead back in 2011. It's a killer return to form, and there's a maturity and cohesion and lyrical wizardry to the whole thing. The sequencing is also stellar, and I'd encourage everyone to listen to it all the way through in the intended sequence for that full experience. Decemberist fans will undoubtedly love this album, but I really encourage all of you to check it out, especially if you've never heard of these guys before. There's something for everyone here, from super poppy and catchy stuff to dark, moody pieces to experimental excursions. The only song that didn't really hit for me was Born to the Morning, and I think the album would have probably been a little better without it, but that's a minor gripe in the context of this record's general greatness. I also wish the sound quality and fidelity was a tad better, maybe also with a little less compression. Regardless, I'm giving this wonderful album a rating of 8.5 out of 10. Your mileage may vary. You guys know the drill. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you just simply not care or whatever? Let me know down in the comments below and let me know why, okay? I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for watching. Give me a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, and I'll catch you cats next time.